Hello, Shelly. Welcome back. How's it going? This as a checkup, follow up.
I'm doing way better this time than the last time I saw you.
Oh, that's great. So last time, before we get started, just a reminder that anything discussed here is confidential and it will stay here unless you plan to harm yourself or others. Then I will notify somebody. But it's confidential here. How did you feel about last session? Is there anything you'd like to focus on? How you're
Yeah,
feeling?
felt a lot better after our last session. Sometimes it's just good just to talk about things and then kind of put things in perspective. And um, so I feel a bit better. It's still a little bit on my mind, but I think um, it will be. Well, would you like to hear what the outcome of what happened?
Yeah, sure. Let's hear
So,
it.
as of this morning, I emailed my potential employer and told him that I didn't have care for my youngest child and that I didn't want to drag it on because I know my start date's not for another week, but I wanted to be transparent with him and let him know that my childcare fell through. I did end up emailing about 20 or more daycare centers over the weekend that was along my path to work, like along my drive.
Mm-hmm.
And I only heard back from maybe 5 or 6, and there was no room in those 5 or 6. So I mentioned that to him, and I just said, I might be getting some emails because it was the weekend, but I don't want to hold up. You need to start looking for somebody else if this falls through. And so he said that I seemed like a really good fit, and he wanted to wait till Wednesday to see if I could find care or not.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of like amped up my stress a little bit because I felt relief after I sent the email, and then I'm like, okay, well here I feel a little bit of pressure again to maybe like see if this will work and like look for daycare. But after some thinking, I just thought, well, at least I can say I've done everything that I
Mm-hmm.
can.
Mm-hmm.
So, if nothing comes up before Wednesday, then I've definitely weighed out the pros and cons, and I've definitely tried my hardest because one of my biggest things was like feeling like I'll be regretful for the rest of my life if I don't
Mm-hmm.
take it, because it is one of those like jobs that really is on my heart to do, and like the whole package was really good. The employer was really good. The money was really good. The job was really good. I've just come to terms with the fact that my family is first, and it's going to be hard to kind of be away from them when my older two are still at home schooling, and
Mm-hmm.
so I feel a lot calmer about whatever the outcome is, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So yeah, and I took your advice a little bit about the self-care, so maybe we could talk a little bit more about that.
Sure, we could set up some goals, some strategies. Um, is there anything particular you?
Well, I just feel maybe if I start taking care of myself a little bit more, I won't concentrate so much on, um, like, I guess, how do I say this? I feel
If
like sometimes I put too much pressure on myself to um, be everything, a good mom, like help out financially and be a student and be, I try and do too much and I'm not really fulfilled and I'm not really happy in any area, if that makes sense.
mm-hmm.
So I know when you said last session about how important self-care was. It was a reminder to me to work on myself so that maybe I feel more complete.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you give yourself any like compassion? Like a first step, give yourself compassion. You know, don't be so hard on yourself. Aw,
sometimes as mothers, we forget to take care of ourselves because we're always taking care of everything else.
Yeah.
Everyone else comes first,
and being a caregiver as well.
Yeah.
It's natural in your nature to, care for others.
Yes.
So, is there, to start working on yourself, is there anything that you do right now? We could start slow, even starting off slow by giving yourself compassion for all the hard work that you've done, staying home through this year, COVID, with your children and homeschooling. You really do. Just give yourself
and it's
that.
funny because I know that it's not. I know that it's an important job, and I know that it's the most important job. But it's funny how we just sometimes think that we are not enough, or we are not enough. Being a mother isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense. But,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You feel like you need to do more. Or you feel like you have to do everything, but really you don't. Don't forget about yourself. So do you take baths, start going for short walks, maybe find a friend, make each other accountable? We could try.
I think in order to be successful, I'm going to have to start off slow.
Exactly. And if you start taking care of yourself, give yourself compassion, give yourself self-care, maybe some things will eventually fall into place. Because you won't notice because you're taking care of yourself. Does that make maybe?
I'm thinking maybe I can start just by taking that time. Like sometimes it's hard when you're home without help during the day, so maybe just even taking a hot shower when I have my husband come home from work, and then now that it's staying lighter out, trying to do a solo walk or with a friend, like you suggested. Yeah, just taking that time to
yeah. You said you have family. And your children are homeschooled as well. Do you feel they feel, stressed over COVID and homeschooling? Maybe there is a field or somewhere, a big open space you guys can just all run. I don't know. Let all your crazies out. From the inside.
Really feeling it, just like me, and I think we feed off of each other because she's really feeling the COVID fatigue, and she's at that age where just kind of starting. She's 12 and a half, so she's like getting into the teenage years where everything's socially. She's a bit socially awkward, and everything's changing. So I think just with the combination of COVID, she's just taking it really hard with being isolated from everybody. Everybody, literally. So I think we would all benefit from that. And I know there's definitely like a lack of exercise and stuff in the house. And I know in the past, getting outside and getting that fresh air has been helpful for my mental health. I've always suffered with anxiety, as you know, and it's just been progressively getting worse as COVID continues. Yeah. And the getting out doesn't happen as much because you're trying to be safe for your family. I think we'd all benefit from just running on the field. I think that's a great suggestion.
So, taking a moment back, how do you feel about having your dream passionate job that you love? How do you feel about having to might not be able to take it? Does that
Yeah.
How do you feel if this is something you're so passionate about?
I feel like it's a loss, if that makes sense. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm giving up something that might not come around again. So yeah, it does. I do feel sad. I feel very disappointed, I guess is the word.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've been robbed of something in a sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I'm starting to, since the last time we talked, I'm starting to understand that it just, sometimes things like have a way of working out, and like, I'm just trying to keep that faith.
Yeah, definitely.
But I can't lie and say that I'm not disappointed, because I am.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just think at the end of the day, whatever happens will happen, and whatever's meant to be is meant to be, and might not, the timing just might not be right. I mean, it is a really weird time to start a new job in the first place.
During the middle of a pandemic, of course.
And I already have anxiety every time I leave the house. And that was another thing my husband brought up. And I think the self-care will help with that too. It's like, you know, he was saying, how do you think that you're going to feel when you have all this pressure? Because it's a very, because I'm working with children with disabilities and trying to provide them access to services, how would I feel if that child didn't get food services?
Mm-hmm.
So already coming from a place where I struggle with anxiety and depression, how would I feel if I couldn't help that child? And is that something, as much as I want to help, is that something I'm going to be able to sleep with that night? You know, am I going to be able to go to bed and be like, that child didn't get the wheelchair and it's okay? Knowing my compassionate heart, that probably wouldn't be okay.
No. And if you're not mentally there right now, it might, you know, might be sad. And maybe you are right. Maybe it's just a bad timing. And hopefully, you know, if this potential boss sees what he has in you, hopefully he can hold it off and let you work on yourself so that when you do get to your dream job, you're not so disappointed. So in the meantime, were you looking for a job, or was it just something that had come across?
I definitely wasn't looking for a job, but this posting I did come across, and it was a long shot. I don't know if I mentioned that last time, but I just applied kind of not really ever anticipating that I would get a call because I don't have a degree. I have different education than what they were exactly looking for, but it was still sort of working with children and in the field, in a similar field. So, and then after talking to my references, he knew, and meeting him, he knew that I would be a good candidate. But I wasn't really looking because right now my priority has always been just my children, and just to balance everything out, daycare in a pandemic and stuff. I just wasn't really feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that as much as I feel like I maybe would consider sacrificing how I felt about daycare in a pandemic and working, you know, starting a new job right now, you know, I would only probably do that for a job like this. Does that make sense? Like for a dream job?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like it's just not, like you said, it's just not really the best timing, and I know that, so that's why I'm trying to tell myself over and over, it's not the best timing.
Yes.
I can't magically make daycare appear, and then even if it did magically appear, would I be comfortable? Yes.
Yeah. Yep, there's lots of things to look at, I guess, when talking about this. So, your plans are to stay home then, right? And you want to make goals to work on your self-care, which was walking, taking your family to go for a run, let them all, what do you have any other ideas of what you can do? Read a book, sit outside in the sun, and some breathing exercises, if I can share with you, I've learned is when you take your hand, and you know how you take your deep breaths, right? And you go, and doing it with someone else may sound different, but when you're alone and you're looking at your hands and you just need to focus on your breathing, that's another strategy. Also, be mindful of like what's around you. Like, I notice for like self-care, I go outside and I look at this tree. It's a very old tree, but it's beautiful. It has branches, and some branches are broken and some aren't. It's not perfect, but it's beautiful, right? Taking the time to look at simple things like that help you realize how important you actually are, if any of that makes sense.
I love that. It's a good analogy.
Don't forget about yourself. Keep working on yourself no matter what. Even when you do get your dream job, don't forget about your self-worth. And you're being a great role model for your kids. We have a few minutes left. How do you feel about today? Is there anything you want to finish talking about before our time is up? You want to get something off your chest?
I think I'm already feeling a lot better. Like I said earlier, I just feel sometimes just to talk about it, because I feel sometimes when I talk to my husband, I feel like he doesn't really understand the mom, the dynamics of being a mom. It can be, not always, but in a lot of situations it is so different, because generally speaking, in two-income families, the man is going out and working, and not always, but in this situation it's the case where it's just he doesn't understand because he's never had to be home with the kids. So it's just nice talking about getting it off my chest and understanding or realizing that it is enough. And and I just needed the reminder of self-care. We all know in the back of our heads, but I just needed that reminder that it is important and not to lose track of it.
Especially during a pandemic.
Exactly. And that's how I got myself where I am now, is just forgetting about that. And you get comfortable in your little bubble. So I thank you for reminding me to take care of myself, and I'm definitely going to work on that. I think self-care should be ongoing, right? It should always be number one.
Yeah, it should never stop.
Yeah. I think I feel good about where things are today, and I think for next time, I'll when I talk to you, I'll have at least initiated some of those things into me.
Perfect. So I was just going to ask, would you like a follow-up? And you said next time. Thank you for that. Thank you for today, and I hope you feel a bit better. And I will call you in our next appointment, which will be next Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Thank you so much for your time.
Bye.